No Anthony Edwards, no Rudy Gobert, no problem. The Timberwolves blow out the Bucks. Let's talk Joan Beringer next.
You are Locked On Timberwolves, your daily Minnesota Timberwolves podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Wolves podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Before tip-off, check the FanDuel app and see what's dropping during NBA Happy Hour every Friday from 6 to 7:30 Eastern. That's 5 to 6:30 p.m. Central Time. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Happy Hump Day. And it is a victory Wednesday after a Timberwolves blowout win against the Bucks on Tuesday. And look, it's been a while, I think, since Wolves fans have probably felt, I guess I speak for everyone, feeling very confident coming off of a blowout win with no Anthony Edwards, no Rudy Gobert, and the future of the franchise, I think is fair to say, obviously, future alongside Anthony Edwards, alongside Jaden McDaniels in terms of a young core. Jean Barron was fantastic in this game. The first time he's received rotation minutes, the first time all year the 19-year-old has received non-garbage time minutes, the first time he's played in a quarter other than the fourth quarter. I'm pretty confident in that. We're going to talk a lot about Beringer. I'm going to start, I guess, start there because we're going to talk three big things in this game and get into what stands out the most. Obviously, Beringer is number one. So we're going to get into that here in just a moment. We'll talk about a couple other major observations. We'll talk individual studs and duds. And, a short rotation for Chris Finch with those guys out, what that may or may not tell us moving forward as we inch closer to the trade deadline. A lot to get to here today on the show. A big thank you, first of all, for making Locked On Wolves your first listen every single day. Of course, this show is free and available everywhere. That includes YouTube as well as all of your favorite audio platforms. Wherever you like to listen to podcasts, you can find Locked On Wolves. All right. So the Bucks are healthy. Miles Turner didn't play due to an illness, but the Bucks are otherwise healthy. The Timberwolves missing Anthony Edwards due to foot soreness management. They don't play again until Friday, so they played Sunday. 6 games in 9 days, a back-to-back over the weekend. So Ant gets Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday off before they play Friday night in a big game at Houston. So no Ant in this game, no Rudy Gobert, who is suspended for a game after receiving yet another flagrant foul in Sunday's win over the Spurs when he recklessly closed out on Victor Wembanyama. So arguably, the Timberwolves missing their two best players, certainly their best offensive player and their best defensive player in Ant and Gobert. And while the Bucks are under 500 and they're a mess for a lot of reasons, they still have Giannis, who's a top 5, or, certainly top 5, when healthy, probably still top 3 player in the NBA, right? After Jokic and SGA. And it didn't really matter. The Wolves jumped out to a big early lead. They scored 38 points in the first quarter and held the Bucks to 20. So it was offense and defense early. We'll talk a little bit about the offense here in a little bit, but they're up 18 at the end of the first quarter. It was basically over. They did get it up above 30, and then it got back down into the teens briefly in the third quarter, and then Minnesota boosted it back up. Garbage time started with 8 minutes left in the game. But I want to talk about Joan Beringer, the Timberwolves rookie big, who, of course, they drafted this year in the first round. He was the 17th overall pick, and he was 18, just turned 19 in mid-November. If you're not super, all you really need to know is they drafted him as an 18-year-old that had only played basketball for 4 years, right? The story is he outgrew his soccer cleats, and so he just played basketball, and now he's a first-round draft pick. That's the story that was going on after the draft. He only played in 14 games to this point, all garbage time minutes, and had looked really good. He continued to look really good in this game. And Chris Finch said, this was reported during the game on the FanDuel Sports Network, that Finch had said before the game, look, I'm going to protect, I think is the word that was used, protect Beringer in this game. He didn't want him to end up isolated against Giannis over and over. He basically was going to try and play him in the non-Giannis minutes. Well, he did early. He came in the game after Giannis hit the bench for the first time, but he was so good, Finch left him on. He played 11 or 12 straight minutes in the first half, spanning the first to the second quarter, and stayed when Giannis came into the game. Same thing happened in the second half, and ultimately Beringer ended up playing 30 minutes, which tied for the most of any player on the Timberwolves. And he didn't strictly guard Giannis one-on-one. He did a couple of times. It went okay. He fouled him, I think, once. But it went well. Overall, Beringer absolutely looked the part of an NBA rotation caliber player. 13-5, 2 assists, only 1 turnover. He had a steal. 4 of his 5 rebounds were on the offensive glass. And my list of things that I liked about Beringer's game are exactly what I talked about back in July after watching him play at the Las Vegas Summer League. Exactly what I've talked about after preseason, where we saw him play a little bit. After garbage time minutes already this year, we've talked a little bit about him to this point. It's the same stuff. What's the number one thing that stands out besides the obvious size and length? It's the activity level, first of all, especially on the glass, but in general, he's never standing still. And it's on both ends of the floor. The activity level, the nose for the basketball, and the instincts and the feel are crazy, given the combination of his age, still a teenager, barely 19, and his experience, which is a couple years of pro basketball in Europe, and he didn't play basketball competitively until he was like 14. And the fact that he knows where to be and when, like there's stuff, and I don't say this to put down the guys I'm about to list, but really more to build up Beringer. Like think back to Naz Reid, his rookie year as an undrafted guy to LSU. He was not often in the right place on both ends of the floor. And he's not the only one. I'm just thinking of bigs, right? There were moments like this with Cat, coming out of Kentucky. Same deal. And Beringer, there were a couple plays on offense where you could tell he didn't fully know what they were running. They were telling him where to go. But when they weren't running a set, his feel, like there was a play, I think it was first half, second quarter, when he was sharing the floor with Julius Randle, and Randle was trying to clear up for an isolation, and Beringer realized he was in the way. So he faded to the dunker on the weak side, the dunker spot on the weak side, and was a little in no man's land. But then as Randle started to drive, he started to shrink the gap a little bit to try and create an angle for a lob for Randle. Randle ended up scoring anyway, but he didn't crash too quickly for a potential offensive rebound or create bad spacing for a potential pass, allowing the guy guarding Beringer to help effectively also guard Julius Randle. The timing there was really good for a guy that hasn't played rotation minutes ever at the NBA level and just turned 19. It's stuff like that. It's little things, the nose for the basketball, tapping rebounds to teammates. He deflected a number of passes that and pokeaways that aren't steals, and he had some deflections that aren't going to be credited as rebounds either. But it's the instinct stuff, and it's honestly some of that technique that's very surprising. Primarily the offensive glass, and primarily off the ball, both on offense and defense, is what I'm most impressed with. And a big reason for that is because usually it's the last thing to come. Like, I'm not trying to compare him to rookie Naz, but like Naz knew exactly what he was doing when he had the ball in his hands. He knew what he was trying to do when he was on the ball defensively. He wasn't in the best shape as a rookie. It's one of the reasons he went undrafted, right? He worked incredibly hard to make himself into the player he became very quickly, really. By like year 2, it was like, oh, this dude's an NBA player. Talking about Naz. But like off the ball, guys like Naz, guys like Cat, even Ant, honestly, off the ball until recently, the field, it was either feel or it's work ethic, right? Or it's effort. And right now, Beringer has both of those things. And again, given the age and the experience, with the ball in his hands, it's a lot more like a baby deer, right? On the ball, the technique isn't great yet. But on the ball, he can get away with it because of his length and athleticism, his overall size, and because of how hard he plays. Off the ball, because he's playing hard and he knows what he's doing, and he takes up so much space on both ends of the floor off the ball, he's really, really good already. So the activity level, the length, obviously, the nose for the ball, the instincts, the feel, it's all crazy. The offensive rebounding, very good. Defensive rebounding is the one area that I've said this all along, and it's funny to look at the box score after the game. I wasn't looking at it during the game, and I knew he only had a handful of rebounds. 4 of his 5 rebounds were on the offensive glass. And I go back to my notes in Summer League. What did I talk about on the show? The technique on the defensive glass is not good. And he's too skinny. He's too weak right now to get away with. Well, first of all, he's not boxing out. Second of all, if he tries to, it's not working well because he's so slight in build. And third of all, he can't get away without boxing out because he's not big enough to rebound necessarily against some of these bigger, stronger guys in the NBA. Now, I say that effort matters more than almost anything outside of some of those physical tools that he does have. And he snatched a couple rebounds away from some dudes. He snatched a pass away from some guys that could have been a turnover and got a bucket. I forget who it was on the Bucks in the third quarter, I think it was. There were some effort plays that allowed him to really overwhelm some of these guys, even though the technique was bad, because he plays hard and he's athletic and long and all that stuff. But defensive rebound, and I've said this actually garbage time a couple times already this season, where he kind of gets pushed around on the defensive glass because the technique's not great. And it's more about technique than it is about effort. Offensive rebound is about effort more so than defensive rebounding. Obviously, both are, but you know what I'm saying? The scale, effort matters more on the offensive glass. Technique matters more on the defensive glass. And he's better on the offensive glass than he is on the defensive glass. Like he just is right now. That's an area he's got to work on. Screening, it was good. I thought there was a lot of rescreen stuff going on with Beringer. He's not as good of a screener as Rudy Gobert. I wouldn't expect him to be. Rudy's going to work with him on that. That's going to be something he's got to improve on. And obviously, 5 boards overall, 4 of them being offensive. Like I go back to rebounding. That's the one area that I think is going to be the biggest key to him carving out like a regular role with this team. And I don't want to sit here and try and predict if he's going to get to, like, when Gobert comes back, I mean, where are you going to give him minutes? They've got 3 all-NBA, all-star caliber bigs. Where are you going to find Beringer minutes? You just want to play gigantic and have, I guess shorten some of their minutes, keep them all around 30 and always play a couple of giant humans at the same time. I don't know. Like, I don't know what the answer is. We can figure that out another day, but a really impressive, I'll call this a debut because it was his debut of non-garbage time minutes. Really good stuff from Beringer. And I said this on X during the game. I think the most impressive thing about him is he is so consistent. Every single note I have on him from Summer League to preseason to garbage time minutes to his short amount of time with the Iowa Wolves in the G League this year to this game where he played real live NBA non-garbage time regular season minutes for the first time. It's the same. He looks the same. And that is a compliment for a teenager. Absolutely a compliment for Jean Barron. All right. I want to get to my next 2 of my 3 big things, and then we'll close with individual studs and duds. It's all coming up next. Today's episode of Locked On Wolves is brought to us by our friends at FanDuel. Fridays already feel different during basketball season, and FanDuel is making them even better. Every Friday night, before the games tip off, FanDuel gives fans a new way to kick off the weekend with NBA Happy Hour. NBA Happy Hour is your official pregame, a limited time window where special offers drop right inside the FanDuel app before the action starts. Fridays from 6 to 7:30 Eastern, that's 5 to 6:30 p.m. Central Time, have become appointment viewing with NBA Happy Hour. Opening the FanDuel app during Happy Hour always brings something new, including boosts, bonuses, and surprises. It is easy to check the weekly special before tip-off and make a move before the window closes. The timing is perfect. It's right before the games, right before your weekend starts. It adds extra energy to Friday night basketball without overthinking it. It's hump day today. We are halfway there to your Friday night with FanDuel. So before tip-off, check the FanDuel app and see what's dropping during NBA Happy Hour every Friday. Again, that's 6 to 7:30 Eastern or 5 to 6:30 p.m. Central. A little basketball, a little action, and a whole lot of Friday energy. That's NBA Happy Hour only on FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NBA. Today's episode is also brought to us by our friends at Wayfair. The new year is here, and it is the perfect time to reset your routine and refresh your space. If you're spending more time at home, you might as well love how it looks and feels, and that's why you should turn to Wayfair. It's a one-stop shop for getting your home back on track. From bedding and mattresses to storage solutions for every room, Wayfair makes it easy to start the year fresh. Wayfair has everything you need for a full home refresh all in one place. Whether you're updating your living room, organizing your space, or upgrading your work from home setup, Wayfair's huge selection makes it easy to find exactly what works for your style and budget. Actually, my wife and I were on Wayfair this weekend. We have, I think, 3 different like credenza type deals for our living room. We're trying to find some stuff to put like kids' toys and things in that looks nice. It isn't like a toy box. And also something like our dog can't get into, right? So we're shopping for something specific. There's 3 great options. We've got, I hope not actually in the cart, but like ready to go, right? We're going to pick one of the 3, texting back and forth about it from Wayfair. We're going to pick one of them, and I can't wait for it to get here because it's super easy. The whole thing, delivery's smooth with Wayfair, and everything arrives exactly as you expect it. We've ordered from Wayfair several times before, and we love the experience. Get organized, refreshed, and back on track this new year for way less. Head to wayfair.com to shop all things home. That's Wayfair, WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. Big thanks once again for making Locked On Wolves your first listen of the day. And of course, thanks for helping to make Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. If you haven't already, go check out the new Everydayer Club. You'll get access to an ad-free audio feed for Locked On Wolves, compatible with Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and every other major podcast app. Plus, you'll also get an invite to the members-only Locked On Everydayer Club Discord server, which includes a group chat just for listeners of each Locked On show. You go to lockedonwolves.supercast.com or tap the link in the show notes to learn more. That's lockedonwolves.supercast.com. All right. Talked a lot of Beringer. That's number one. He's a dude for sure. Have that in my notes, I promise. Beringer, a dude for sure. He's already a rotation big. We'll see what happens with him rotation-wise moving forward. Number two, the Timberwolves' early offense in this game, / ball movement / Julius Randle. I'm cheating a little bit. But collectively, I thought Randle did a really good job keeping things moving while still kind of trying to fill that alpha role in the offense, right? He had 29 points on 18 shots. So he was 75% for the field, 4 of 7 on threes, which, by the way, he's 4 of 7 on threes. That means he was 8 of 11 on twos. Is that right? Yeah, 8 of 11 on twos, 4 of 7 on threes. 8 boards, 6 assists, and just 2 turnovers for Julius Randle. And he was the hub of the offense before this game got out of control. And I thought he picked his spots nicely. He was aggressive at times. There were a couple ISO possessions. There was some, I think there was one miscue at the end of a shot clock where he didn't realize the shot clock was ending very early in the first quarter. But then he also took some tough end of shot clock shots. He hit a couple tough fadeaways. He hit one over Kevin Porter Jr. early in the game toward the end of the shot clock. Like some of those moments where he tried to put the team on his back and say, all right, I'm the guy. But I thought he also got other people involved nicely. I thought the Wolves as a whole shared the ball very well. There was one beautiful possession where the ball zipped around the perimeter and it finished with I think it was a Mike Conley 3 in the corner. Maybe it was Jaden McDaniels. They hit a ton of threes early in this game. The starters, by the way, combined to make 16 threes in this game. So I'm forgetting who exactly made it on this possession, but it was like everybody touched the ball inside to outside, all the way around the perimeter, finished to the right corner 3. A couple really nice possessions like that. There were some pass up a good shot to get a great shot, like very unselfish play from the Timberwolves. They ended up turning it over 15 times in part because I thought at times they overpassed. Also, garbage time got away from them a little bit, as it often does. But they also had 37 assists. I think they were in the high 20s at halftime, which is a really nice, 37 assists, a great number as a team. They made 22 threes, obviously a great number. A very impressive offensive performance, especially early. 38 in the first quarter, 38 in the second quarter. So if you're scoring at home, they had 76 points at halftime. They had 74 with a minute 20 or so left. I was hoping they were going to get to 80 in the first half. But they were up 76-45, up 31 points at halftime. And the defense was good, but it was the offense that was so impressive. I thought the defense really, the Bucks didn't want to be there. The Bucks, other than there was a run in the third quarter where Milwaukee actually played really hard. It was noticeably different than the entire first half. And then the Wolves got it back closer to 30, and then the Bucks gave up again. But the defense was fine. It was more about the Bucks missing shots and the Timberwolves limiting the Bucks to no second chance opportunities, which is something I talked about on yesterday's show previewing this matchup. And then also the Wolves offense was overwhelming. It was more about the offense for Minnesota than it was the defense. But that was my second big thing, is I thought the overall ball movement and play of the Timberwolves offense, especially early in the game, and then Randle's role within that, playing a reasonable game. And I say that like he hasn't, but he has this year. Randle's been really good. Some blips, but who doesn't have blips? What teams don't have blips? I thought Randle found his right role within the offense in this game and pushed the right buttons based on there being no Ant and also no Rudy Gobert. So that was all great. My third of my 3 big things. I'm going to call it the duo of Jalen Clark and Bones Hyland was so good in this game. And honestly, everyone was great in this game for the Timberwolves. But Bones, first of all, season high 23 points, second on the team in scoring in just 21 minutes, knocked down 5 threes, most on the team, 5 of 7 outside the arc, had 5 assists and 0 turnovers, was just an astonishing plus 41 in 21 minutes, which, by the way, Mike Conley was a net 0 in this game in 21 minutes, and Bones Hyland was a plus 41. The Wolves, everybody that played rotation minutes, there's 8 guys that played rotation minutes. The worst non-Conley mark was Nas was a plus 18. So everyone was a plus 18 or better, and Conley was a 0. Bones, a plus 41 in 21 minutes, 23 points on 16 shots in those 21 minutes, and 5 assists to 0 turnovers. Hard to overstate just how good Bones Hyland has been lately. And I was more hesitant than anyone about the Bones Hyland experience. You go back to, I actually should just pull this up, the show from like, what was it, March last year, and the Wolves signed him to a 2-way deal. And I did like a segment on Bones last year, not even a full show. And I was basically like, look, he's a Tim Connolly guy, depth, whatever. He can't play in the playoffs because he's on a 2-way contract. This is strictly like, hey, if we have guys that are out, Ant had the technical suspensions upcoming at that point last year at the technical fouls, similar to the Gobert flagrant stuff now. Guys get hurt, guys in foul trouble. You need Bones to go off. He can score you, 15 and a quarter at the drop of a hat. Nice to have that high variance guy off the bench. That's exactly what this was. Gobert and Ant are out. Give the keys to Bones and say, hey, man, go cook. Go score a bunch of points. And he did. 23 points in 21 minutes. He did exactly what I thought he was being brought in to do. And obviously he's done more than that lately. He's an actual member of the rotation, which, I still a bit dubious. Like if we're sitting here in April and this is still the conversation we're having about Bones dropping 20 plus off the bench. All right, I was wrong. I'm a bit dubious about him carrying this big of a burden long-term, right? So if the trade deadline in 3 weeks, if they don't find somebody else, then Bones is the guy. Like he's obviously, Rob Dillingham played 0 rotation minutes in a game where they were severely shorthanded. So Bones is the guy. And, the Bones experience is certainly a roller coaster. It's certainly high variance is a nice way to say that. So curious to see what that looks like moving forward. But him combined with Jalen Clark, Jalen had 4 points on 2 of 6 in 18 minutes, but I actually thought he was good offensively. No turnovers, couple assists, 6 boards, 3 of them on the offensive glass, and a nice baseline floater. He's been aggressive off the dribble. And I thought he was amazing defensively. He's always good. But he was really good. Had a nice jump ball against Giannis. Had another play where he picked Giannis's pocket. He snuck up on the backside and doubled him and stole the ball. Like a really awesome Jalen Clark game on both ends. And the combination of both of these guys being all gas, no breaks, Jalen Clark and Bones Hyland, but Bones being entirely offensively minded and Jalen Clark being entirely defensively minded, but also playing like a bulldog on offense. Like that's a really dangerous combination off the bench. And it when it works, it really works. Now, Jalen can have those ugly offensive games and Bones can have those ugly offensive games, certainly. And then it's a little bit of a all or nothing. The plus side is they both play hard every night. They do. I don't think I've ever seen Bones or Jalen Clark not play hard. And those are probably the only 2 guys on the roster that I can say that about. Right? Everybody else has had an off night. Most guys do. But those 2 guys play really hard, and that is a really important thing for bench guys. All right, let's close by talking individual studs and duds. We'll close this thing out, peek at what's next here upcoming this week. We'll do all that here next to close out the show. Today's episode of Locked On Wolves is brought to us by our friends at Zocdoc. Guys, it is 2026, and those days of waiting for something to become a full-blown emergency before you see a doctor, they are over. No more walking it off for 6 months. No more pretending that weird shoulder stiffness is just sleeping wrong. I've been known to do that. It's time to take your health seriously, and Zocdoc makes that easier than ever because staying healthy is more than just hitting the gym or eating right. It's about actually getting things checked out when something feels off. And using Zocdoc will help make scheduling easier. You can search for in-network doctors for you and book right in the app. Plus, they actually list real appointment times, so you're not, guessing. And that includes same-day visits as well. No more back-and-forth phone calls or waiting weeks to be seen. It's super helpful for routine checkups and also the little issues that you've been meaning to get checked out, but you just haven't yet. You can also compare providers using real patient reviews and not ads. It helps you stay on top of your health before something becomes a bigger problem. The app itself is very quick, clean, and honestly, it removes all the stress of finding the right doctor. So stop putting off your doctor's appointments and get the care you need. Go to ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNBA to find and instantly book a top-rated doctor today. That's Zocdoc, ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNBA, ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNBA. All right. Let's talk individual studs and duds. I already said this. Like, everybody played well. Julius has to be number one because of the tone he set early offensively. 29 points on 12 of 18. Yes, that's 75% from the floor. 4 of 7 on threes. 8 of 11 on twos. Just 1 of 2 at the free throw line. The Wolves only shot 12 free throws in this game. The Bucks were not interested in playing defense. That is why that's the case. 8 boards, 6 assists, only 2 turnovers, plus a steal for Julius, and a plus 23 in 30 minutes. Awesome stuff. Really, really good game for Julius Randle. Number 2, I guess Bones. I mean, Bones was a big part of keeping the Bucks, like, extending that lead in the first half and then surging ahead when it got down into the teens, the high teens, but still the lead was whittled by, 10, 12, 13 points in the third quarter. And Bones is a big part of getting it back up to 30, 23 points on 16 shots, 5 of 7 on threes. Bones was 5 of 9 on twos, 5 assists, and no turnovers, which is huge. 2 boards and 1 steal for Bones Hyland. And again, just an insane plus 41 in just 21 minutes. Third stud, go Naz Reid. You can go with Joan Beringer. I'm going to go Beringer a little bit because of the vibes. Naz was really good, but I thought Beringer impacted the game maybe even a little bit more than Naz. Just the activity level, and I'm not taking away from Naz. Man, I'm really like Naz is catching strays unintentionally in this podcast today. Naz has been great. Beringer, 13 points on 7 shots, 6 of 7 shooting, made his only free throw attempt, 5 boards, 2 assists, and a steal, only 1 turnover. 4 of his 5 rebounds were offensive. He was a plus 30 in 30 minutes, which, yes, was the second best plus-minus mark on the Timberwolves next to Bones Hyland. Was phenomenal. Naz was good. Jalen Clark was good. DiVincenzo was quiet but good. 7 assists to just 2 turnovers. Made 3 threes. Had 11 points. Jaden was actually not that quiet. Jaden was really good also. Man, 17 points on 6 of 9. 4 made threes. He had that stretch where he made 3 straight threes in the first half, which was awesome. 6 boards, 5 assists, only 1 turnover, 2 blocks for Jaden McDaniels. Blocked Giannis. That was fun. Had a couple of nice dunks. A lot of good dunks for Minnesota in this game in the first half, especially. Just a really fun game. The only dud, I guess, if I had to pick one, would be Mike Conley because I don't know. He didn't even play that bad. I'm just like, I'm not going to give him a dud. I'm not going to give him a dud based on a plus minus. Like, I've said for the longest time in the show that individual player single game plus minus is super noisy. I've started to cite it a little bit more this year because I think this Wolves team in particular has some patterns that are interesting when it comes to that. So, like, in this game, everyone's a plus 18 or better among the 8 rotation players that, non-garbage time guys, and Conley's a 0. That's notable. But he had 5 assists, only 1 turnover, made 3 threes. Like, I don't think he was bad in this game. But it's notable that he was a 0, and in the exact same number of minutes, Bones Hyland was a plus 41. Garbage time, Dillingham, I thought, looked pretty good, other than when he tried to shoot the ball at the buzzer with the Wolves up by 33, and then he missed a layup, which, basketball gods probably deserve that. Johnny Juzang, fine. Leonard Miller was active. That was nice. Ingles somehow turned it over 3 times in 8 minutes, but also 2 steals. So nothing really to write home about in garbage time. Beringer just kept doing what he did all game, which was play well, be active, play hard. Awesome stuff to watch. All right. Next up for the Timberwolves, they don't play again until Friday night. The Wolves will head to Houston. So obviously short flight back from Milwaukee to Minneapolis this evening. So they'll be back in Minnesota for the next couple days. Pick up Gobert and Ant, and then head down to Houston for an 8:30 p.m. tip on Friday night. That is an ESPN game against the Rockets. The first time Timberwolves have seen the Rockets this year. And I'll tell you what, that is going to be a fun one. We'll talk a lot about the standings and all that stuff here in the coming days because we're nearly at the midway point schedule-wise, and it's going to be a race to the finish, honestly. The what's the word I'm looking for? The tiebreakers. Thank you. The tiebreakers are, that's going to be something to keep an eye on for sure. Like that's notable. It matters. Like they already have the tiebreaker over San Antonio. They play the Spurs again Saturday. The Houston game for the Wolves on Friday night is actually the back end of a back-to-back. Houston has OKC on Thursday night. They don't have to travel. They're at home, but it's Thunder at Houston on Thursday. Of course, a national TV game on Prime. And then Houston has to turn around and play the Wolves on Friday. That's about as tough of a back-to-back as you can get. It's the front end of a back-to-back for Minnesota, who go from Houston down to San Antonio on Saturday night to do the Texas two-step. They play the Rockets on Friday and then the Spurs on Saturday. So also a very tough back-to-back. Houston and then Wemby on Saturday for the Wolves. So big game Friday. That's going to be a lot of fun. Sitting here right now, and I'm recording this. Let's see. I'm recording this shortly after the Wolves game. So there's still a couple of games happening. One is Portland Golden State. One is the Lakers. So I guess Lakers and Golden State the standings will be impacted by the results of those games. But neither one of them, I guess, can catch Minnesota tonight. The Wolves are alone in the 4 spot in the Western Conference. They're only a half game behind the Nuggets and the Spurs. The Spurs have lost 2 straight now. And they lost to the Thunder on tonight, like last night. They lost to the Thunder the same night the Wolves beat the Bucks. So the Spurs and Nuggets are now tied for the 2 spot, and the Wolves are right behind them, a half game back. They have a better point differential than both teams. So Minnesota now has the 3rd best differential in the Western Conference, behind only OKC and Houston, and Houston's 2 games behind the Wolves in the standings. Somehow they played 4 less games than Minnesota. So the Wolves are in a great spot already with the tiebreaker over San Antonio. So if the Wolves win, they beat Houston and San Antonio loses their next game, the Wolves will leapfrog the Spurs and at worst be in 3rd. And if Denver loses their next game, the Wolves would be in 2nd in the West. And, of course, have only played the Thunder twice and split those games. So, obviously, still would be like 7 back of OKC. But the big thing is to be 2 or 3 when it's all said and done in the West, because then you avoid the Thunder on that side of the bracket. And you wouldn't have to face them to the conference finals. So that's something we'll obviously talk about a lot more moving forward. But a big game against Houston Friday. We'll talk some lineup stuff. We'll probably talk some more Beringer because it's fun at some point later this week. And then, of course, once we get to Friday, we'll preview the matchup against the Houston Rockets as well. Big thank you for making Locked On Wolves your first listen every single day. Of course, this show is free and available everywhere. That includes YouTube as well as all of your favorite audio platforms. Wherever you like to listen to podcasts, you can find Locked On Wolves. You can also watch on the Locked On Sports Minnesota app on both Roku and Amazon Fire TV. Also, a reminder, if you never miss an episode of Locked On Wolves, then go check out the Everydayer Club. It's built for you. Get Locked On Wolves ad-free, plus members-only Discord access and more. Head to lockedonwolves.supercast.com to join the club. If you're watching on video, when this is done, we'll send you to the first ever 24/7 National NBA YouTube channel here at Locked On audio. Make sure you make your second listen NBA game night on Locked On NBA. Of course, Locked On Wolves is also part of the Locked On Network, your local experts on all the biggest stories. Once again, I'm Ben Beecken. This is the Locked On Wolves podcast, and we'll catch you next time.